Alright, what is up guys? Losomaniac here, and welcome to... I would call this like one of my Let's Talk episodes, but that's not what this is, because usually with Let's Talk, this is like different subjects, or it's different subjects into one video. This one is a specific topic. I want to talk about my obsessions I've had over the years, because as some of you guys may notice, I talk a lot about Fallout on this channel, even though I haven't recently, and I also talk a lot about Cyberpunk. Now, that could be just because I really like these games, or it could be a different reason, and is that I am fucking obsessed. Now, let's start here, alright? So let me give like a few clarifications to some stuff. I'm autistic. I'm not like that high up. Apparently I have high functioning, but I don't want to say that in case some people take offense to it, which is totally fine. I understand. I'm not trying to say or do anything to prove it. I'm just going off what I hear about myself, and if that's what I have, so be it. But for this purpose, just understand that's why. And I remember one of the questions the person asked me, so I have gotten professional help from someone who did say I had it. One of the questions they asked was if I obsess over anything. And I do, heavily. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, and I think one of them is pretty weird. I'll talk about it in a moment. I will keep any personal information out of this if it comes to it, any personal names or whatever, I'll keep it out, just because I just find it unnecessary. So if you guys are hoping for names of people, if I'm obsessed with people, first of all, I don't know why you're asking for that. But two, I won't for my sake, because it's just weird. So yeah, I do obsess a lot. And this isn't like me. I don't know. People say that they use it. People obsess over stuff, and it just becomes like an excuse to do some awful shit or whatnot. I'm not sure. But I've heard people say that like they obsess a lot over like negative stuff. So yeah, let's start with like my earliest obsession I can remember. Minecraft. This one. There's a few on here that makes a whole lot of sense as to why I'm obsessed with them. Mostly considering the fact that they are very popular. Sorry, if I look over here, I'm trying to make sure my grandma doesn't show up. Oh, hi Pepper. Hi. So yeah, some of these are pretty reasonable as to why I'm obsessed with them. I'll explain why and how I became obsessed with them, and so on. Some of these are pretty straightforward. Some of these, again, are pretty weird reasonings for why I'm obsessed with them, but whatever, right? So yeah, so my earliest one was Minecraft. I remember watching Toby Games way before, like years before that whole drama came up. Like, I remember he was still doing Slenderman videos, and there was a whole thing around like who's better, like Tobuscus or PewDiePie. Like that's how far back this was. Like, this was like back whenever like Minecraft on the Xbox was fairly new, and this was around the time where like the earliest I had Minecraft was like the next update was gonna be like zombies can break down doors. Which doesn't seem like a lot of sense, but it was that early. It was whenever Minecraft first came out on the Xbox 360. That's how early this was. Hell, it's even so early. Xbox 360 was the newer gen console. This wasn't like PS4 or whatever. I think that stuff was fairly new, but it wasn't. It was close to it, but it wasn't. So that's how far back this is. And I remember I desperately wanted Minecraft. Everyone in the dog had it. It seemed like everyone in the dog had it except for me, so I desperately wanted it. So I watched a lot of Minecraft videos. I obviously watched like Sky Does Minecraft and whatnot. So, but this was like the start of my obsession. Another like weird. I always get like obsessed over celebrities. Also, I've gone. This one I could say because I'm kind of over it now. But like, I was obsessed with Zendaya for a short time. I would always watch like the same 2 scenes she was in just because I thought she looked hot. But now I'm older. I just think that's like a weird thing to do. So I'm kind of over that one. But yeah, so that was a weird one. Even though I just contradicted myself and said I wasn't gonna name celebrity names. Who cares? That one's over with. So yeah, the next one was like Five Nights at Freddy's. That one was another. And I understand that these are like phases to go. I understand that these are technically phases. Like, oh, I'm a big Minecraft fan. That's a phase that went through. So you may consider these phases. I call these obsessions. So let's just call them obsessions for the purpose of this video. So yeah, next one was Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, this one, while I don't understand how my Minecraft obsession lowered, I do understand how my Five Nights at Freddy's obsession kind of lost tension. So it started with like FNAF 1, obviously. I was obsessed with that one, and then I got higher and higher, and then eventually at 3, or at the peak of 3, which I consider to be like the best FNAF game of all time, it kind of dwindled a bit, and then after a while, it was just like, okay, there's nothing more to it. That's it. And then it's like, oh, he started releasing books. Here we go. Oh, now there's Sister Location. Fine, alright. I guess my fear kind of came in once Sister Location was released, because FNAF 3, I consider it to be like the least scariest game of the FNAF franchises, just because there's like there's like one robot that can kill you, or animatronic that can kill you, and for the most part, it's pretty easy to tell when you're gonna be jump scared. So it seems that's kind of a good reason why I think FNAF is like the best in the franchise, even though a lot of people would disagree with me on that one, which is fine. But then, like, as FNAF 4 came around, I was like, okay, and then, like, Sister Location, and then there was FNAF World, you guys remember that personal issue, and then, like, you got Ultimate Custom Night, and it's like, okay, there's nothing more to this anymore. It was just rehashing shit. But this was, like, before I knew that there was, like, a proper lore to the game. I was just like, oh, he's releasing games, awesome. But I didn't know there was, like, a proper lore to it, so yeah, and then it's just got from there. So I do know how it came to be. Occasionally I will watch FNAF stuff. It's not too big of a deal, but it's around there. So yeah, next was, I don't remember which one came first. This one I'm gonna include as a phase, but not in the exact order. It was Dragon Force. I went through like a very tiny Dragon Force phase. If you guys don't know, Dragon Force is like a power metal group. So yeah, around that time, Dragon Force was like it, and then like the next day, I just stopped listening to them. It was like a one-day phase. Like, that's a short-lived phase. I guess my other one was my rap phase. I had like Kanye West and Eminem and whatnot. I cannot stand that music anymore, but I'm not one of those people where like I shit on rap. That is, unless other people shit on my music, then I will, and I'll lose that argument because I don't know what I'm saying. So yeah, next obsession was Undertale. Now this one is by far the most reasonable one of them all, because if you were a fan of Undertale, you probably went through a massive obsession with this. And there's a pretty small chance that if you were a fan of Undertale, you weren't obsessed. And I say that because I don't know. I don't know shit. So yeah. So around that, it was a pretty insane phase to go through because they were everywhere. Now, I wasn't too into Undertale. Like, I was into like Underfell or Underswap or Fellswap or whatever. You guys ever heard of that stuff? So, like all these different augmented universes or whatever. I wasn't really into those. I was just deep into those. I remember I was hanging out with I guess a classmate from school, even though I didn't have any classes with her. And I remember I would walk home, I would play Megalovania from her house to my house on repeat the whole time I was there, because Sans was my favorite character. In fact, I remember I did a painting for school, and I had Sans as a background with like blood and whatnot. I drew like fake blood. I'm a terrible artist, so it just looked pretty bad. Oh, sorry. I was looking over at the TV and I saw a red car. I thought my grandma was home. No, it was just a red car from across the street. So yeah, I remember I painted like red blood and whatnot on there. It was pretty. It was pretty funny. It looked terrible, but whatever. I remember Sans was my wallpaper for a moment. It looked like he was pressed up against the glass. Had a bunch of like Undertale shit. And I've noticed that like when it comes to like obsessions, it mostly comes from the fact that like if I make it like anything related to like my phone, because that's when that's my personal stuff. That's what I carry everywhere. So that means for the most part, if I get around to something like that, if I become obsessed with something, it usually shows up on my phone either way. Like, I'll talk about one of my obsessions here in a moment, but it's hugely integrated with my phone. I'll explain that in a moment. So yeah, another phase, I don't know if this one was, although I guess obsession, although I'm not sure. I still listen to them, but I used to know a lot of information about them. I don't anymore, which was Slipknot. I do listen to them. I love them, but I used to know like all of their numbers and whatnot. Each of them, if you guys don't know, Slipknot's like a lot of people say a new metal band, but I didn't know them enough to know them as a new metal band. In fact, whenever I was born, they was releasing the Iowa album, so if they weren't no longer new metal, I didn't know them as such. So I consider them a heavy metal band. I know some elitists here would be like, no, they're new metal. Just keep in mind, I don't know them as a new metal band. But they each have their own numbers. If I remember properly, there's like 9 members, but they only go up to 8, which is awesome because I like to think as if like we're the 9th member, like all of Slipknot fans, maggots as they're called, all have like the 9th number, but it's so ridiculous that it's not true. So yeah, if I remember properly, Sid is 0, Joey is 1, Paul is 2, Chris is 3. Oh fuck! I think Jim, or is it? It's either Jim or Craig. I think Jim is 4, Craig is 5, Clown is 6, Mick is 7, and then Corey is 8. I only remember 0, 1, 2, 6, 7, and 8. That's it. So that's all I remember. But yeah, that's about as far as I went with them. That's about as obsessed I went with them. I remember I watched a bunch. I would watch like all like the memorable moments of each of the members and whatnot. That's how I learned. Like Corey Taylor does the thing during their performance of "Spit It Out," where like he'll ask you to get on the ground. Whenever he tells you to, you jump the fuck up because I watched a lot of like Slipknot live and whatnot. But my biggest obsession with like bands wise was Led Zeppelin. As a whole, without a doubt. I still know all of the information I have. I remember going through like all these Led Zeppelin stuff and hearing about how they're satanic because, you know, Led Zeppelin or Robert Plant sold his soul to the devil for the lyrics to Stairway to Heaven, how it started magically writing itself and whatnot. The fact that in the Dazed and Confused performance of Madison Square Garden during the Song Remains the Same movie / soundtrack, but I will say movie because it's more noticeable there. During the bow section, there's a part where Jimmy Guitar bangs on the guitar and then points the bow up and then faces the direction, does the same thing, all 4 corners, twice. It's supposed to be like a satanic ritual type thing, that's what happened and whatnot. And the fact that if you look at the Presence album, there's like a huge, there's like this black obelisk in the middle of it. That's supposed to be like satanic stuff. There's a whole like rabbit hole of it, and I explored each and every one of them, and I came back with the biggest Zeppelin. Like, I would say the biggest Zeppelin fan, but like there's someone out there who's much better, but plus, I don't like to say I'm the biggest fan of anything because that just discredits true, actual biggest fans. Even if I am, even if some people are like, no, this dude's the biggest fan. Dude, this dude's the biggest fan ever. I'm like, no, there's some other ones. But But yeah, and I know like all the meanings to like a lot of these songs and whatnot because because everyone will because I feel like a lot of these rockers agree that like it's not just the lyrics that makes a song, it's the musicals and whatnot or the instruments, it's the lyrics and the meaning behind them that make the song. So yeah, I know a lot of Zeppelin songs and what they mean. A lot of them don't mean anything. It's just like, let's rock out, and that sort of stuff. So yeah, that one was a big phase of mine, which I still listen to them. But that was like a huge obsession of mine. In fact, they were all I talked about for like months upon months. I remember that was the only thing I talked about. Up to the point where I made my dad, who was a Zeppelin fan, no longer become a Zeppelin fan because of the fact I kept constantly talking about him, and it just ruined it for him. So that one's understandable enough. So yeah, next is Fallout. This one is one of my bigger obsessions, and I'm gonna tell you why. So if you guys remember from like my scariest Fallout moments, I talked about the fact that I used to play this game, or Fallout New Vegas, in high school, back when I was a freshman. And I had to stop playing because the lake lurks are scary as fuck. They still are. In fact, I recently had a nightmare with one of them where like, it was like a battle scene and I was up close with the lake lurk. It scared the shit out of me. So, yeah. And the reason I became obsessed with it was just because it's so fun. Usually with some of these, there's just like a whole reason, like Veronica is my favorite, or Piper, you can romance her, and this sort of stuff. And while that is true, I gotta give credit where credit's due. The game is absolutely fun. I almost said like RPGs, but I don't know if it's an RPG game. But like, I love the idea of like customizing your character how you want, from how you looks to the benefits you get. Especially, but the only problem I see with like New Vegas comes in where like, if there's a certain perk I want that could benefit my character greatly, and it takes like a different sort of like tag, I have to then drain all my skill points. Or if it's like a different skill, I have to drain all my skill points to something else that doesn't benefit my character, just so I can get the perk that does. So, but that's the downside. And I feel like Fallout 4 kind of fixes that, because you can set up your character's special stats and make it however you want it, and it helps out, and all of that benefits your character to an extent. Those some ones I think should have been lower, but I'm not talking about that right now. So yeah, my obsession with my Fallout, with the Fallout franchise, is so big. In fact, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but like, I named my phone Piper because I don't have a dog, and I named my phone password Veronica. Now, I know that's personal information that I'm not supposed to say, but this kind of shows you guys like what's up. And if I get hacked, oh well, I don't care. I put that risk on myself. Alright, whatever. I'm not giving you guys my Wi-Fi password. That's another thing. So yeah, so there's that. In fact, I remember after I beat New Vegas, I would play it again over and over. And then eventually, once I got Fallout 4, I remember whenever I got, now around the time I got the PS4 wasn't when my obsession really started. It was growing, but it wasn't like at its max peak. It was starting, but it wasn't like where it is now. So yeah, I'm still a bit obsessed with Fallout. Occasionally I'll watch like Fallout videos and whatnot, but not as much as Cyberpunk, but I'll talk about that in a moment. So yeah, but then once I got a PS4, the first game I thought of getting, and I think the first game I ever bought for myself, was Fallout 4. I was given 76 for Christmas along with the PS4. So I was given like 4 games for Christmas because the PS4 came with 3 games, one of which was in disc form. So yeah, yeah, then there's that. And then for the final one, which is my current one, is Cyberpunk, as I mentioned before. Yeah, I could go off and say that I'm obsessed with it because of the sex scenes, but I feel like that was too easy for me. I really love I really love this game. Now, I'm gonna say some controversial stuff here, mostly because I don't play any other games, so that are like this, so I wouldn't know. I do think the characters are very well written. Whoops. Is this on? Why the hell is this on? Hey, new lighting, I guess. So yeah, I remember. Actually, let me get off of Facebook. Sorry, that was the laptop. So yeah, I remember, like, cause let me put it to some details here. So I have like a list of like how to romance Judy, Panam, River, and Carrie. Even though I don't need Judy and Panam anymore because I romanced them so many times, I know exactly what to say and what to do. In fact, I'm too good, in fact, that the one time I didn't want to romance Panam to save myself for Carrie, I accidentally romanced Panam. So that's... I'm too soft and I don't want to be mean to her because she's way too serious. Fuck. But I remember the first time I tried to romance Panam, I was just mostly focused on what to say as opposed to, like, what she was trying to say, so I could have cared less. But then over time, I started to remember what to say. Like, I fully paid attention to what she said, and I just felt so emotional during that time. In fact, yesterday, I beat the game again for, like, the 10th time. Close to it, 10th, 11th time. It's very close to the 10th, 11th area. But I did Panam's ending the most because that one's like my go-to ending. It's kind of like the railroad for Fallout 4. For me, that's my go-to ending. And so is this one. Just because it just feels, it makes me feel a certain way, you know. But yeah, I remember, so in fact, yesterday, I beat it again as Panam's ending because I haven't beaten the game since like the 1.2 update, so I wanted to see like what was new, and there wasn't that much new. Granted, I'd said new stuff compared to what I'd said back then, so there was probably some stuff I missed and whatnot, but whatever. And after because I did play as a guy, so I did romance Panam, which for the first time ever since I've romanced Panam and did her ending, I wanted a hug from someone. Because usually I would get that feeling whenever I played a female and romanced Judy, because it's very, like, emotional between the two. So it was just so exciting to see that. But I wanted a hug from someone yesterday because of it, but it was like 10... or it was close to like 9 p.m. or 10, in between 10 and 9 p.m. So everyone was in bed. My grandma was in bed. So I had to hug my pillow. Do you know how weird that is to hug your pillow? It doesn't have that same satisfaction because, like, yeah, you're hugging someone, but the pillow ain't hugging your back. So, and that's why I'm too scared to show someone this game or show them like my dad or my mom or my sister this game, because if they do end up getting the Panam ending, I'm just gonna be like, oh, I need a moment, I need a hug or something, you know. So, but keeping the romance aside, it's the characters, it's the story as a whole. Like I mentioned before, obsessed over it. Yeah, in fact, my lock screen wallpaper is Panam, which, yeah, I talked about Panam the most. Like, I think I've mentioned her almost every Cyberpunk video I've made. God damn it. I need to stop. This is one obsession that's going to take too far. But yeah, just like Led Zeppelin, this is the game I've always talked about. Ever since I got the game, I've talked to my mom before, and every conversation I've had with her since I've gotten the game, Cyberpunk has been mentioned in some form. And that is a problem because I'm here to, like, have a conversation with her about her life and my life and whatnot. Not talk about some game that she knows nothing about. and whatnot, and I keep bringing it up to her and shit, and it just gets bad, and I just start to feel bad. Kind of like with the whole thing with Led Zeppelin. There was a time where my grandma took us out, took me and her went out for dinner, and kind of like, and this was during like my Led Zeppelin phase. I told her that's like the best concert ever before I went and saw Slipknot. She's like, "Oh yeah, what was it?" And I said Led Zeppelin, and she goes, "Of course." And I'm like, "Oh, that's bad." Plus, I kept mentioning Led Zeppelin in like every single conversation that my sister's like, "Oh, shut up already. We get it." Speaking of that, I forgot one of my obsessions, The Office. Everything was The Office for me. I have a couple of t-shirts of The Office. I remember I had my tap teacher, which I'm not going to explain. It wasn't like a tap dance class. It was something else. But like my tap teacher in school was a fan of The Office, so I mentioned The Office every chance I had around her. Oh god, why did I look at that? There's a vaccine. So it shows shows the news. The TV is on right now, and the news is on, and it's showing people getting the vaccine. I don't know why I looked over here. So yeah. Anyways, so then there would come a certain point where like The Office was like all I talked about. So yeah, then there's that. I'm pretty sure I watched The Office so many times to my sister trying to watch it, and I ruined it for her that she's like, "No, I can't watch it. You've seen that show way too many times. I know everything happens and whatnot." And I tried watching it with my dad. He didn't seem interested because I kept watching it and whatnot. So my obsessions ruin people. So yeah, I will say I do get obsessed with people, which some may think it's weird, and to that, I totally agree. It is the weirdest thing ever, but I can't control it. I try to, and then my brain is just like, no, it must happen. It must happen. I remember I was obsessed with my ex-girlfriend for a time, and then I'm now obsessed with some YouTuber, which who I'm not gonna mention because it's weird. And to be honest, it shouldn't really care who I'm obsessed with, but I will say I was obsessed with my ex-girlfriend for a time, and then after that, the YouTuber came around, and then now I'm no longer obsessed with my ex-girlfriend, which at this point I wish I was, because it would make a lot more sense to be obsessed with someone who I know, as opposed to being obsessed with someone who doesn't know me and I don't know them. So yeah, but whatever, you know, it's no big deal. At the end of the day, I'm just a person who needs to learn to control their obsessions, but that's aside the point. See, I guess another thing, like a minor thing I'm obsessed with is the PlayStation series. I'm not too obsessed, but like, if Fallout ever becomes like a Xbox exclusive franchise, I'm gonna be so pissed, because I don't want to buy an Xbox just for one game. That would be the only... Let me just say, that would be the only reason I would get myself an Xbox, is for the Fallout franchise. Because otherwise, I'm going to get myself the PS5 and be fine with it. Alright? Like, I'm not going to... I don't know. It just seems... The whole reason I feel like I'll get the PS5 would be for Horizon Zero Dawn. Wait, yeah. Yeah, the new Horizon Zero Dawn game, and probably the next Fallout franchise game, if Bethesda decides to make it, but it would be worth it now, or it would be worthless now, because Bethesda was bought by fucking Microsoft, which means they are now Xbox exclusive. What the hell? And yes, it is possible that maybe Bethesda would make the next Fallout game, not Xbox exclusive, but guess who that's relying on? Fucking Sony. So yeah, but this ain't a rant about video games, and it never will, because that's not my business. I know nothing of this, so yeah. So that is it. That's all I can think of at the moment. There is some like other stuff, but there's like one other thing, but that's personal. I'm not going to get into that, even though I just said I'm obsessed with my ex-girlfriend at the time. But it doesn't matter because this is just a video. No one's going to know about it. And who cares? So yeah, with that being said, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Hopefully you guys understand what I'm coming from here. Yeah. I understand that, like, in my last video, I talked about the fact that AFK Arena was supposed to be next, but I don't know. At this point, I'm just trying to pump out videos when I can. Plus, I've been wanting to talk about my obsessions for a long time because Dark Viper recently talked about his obsession with, like, something else, or, like, he gets aggressively mad about something and becomes obsessed and whatnot. So I decided I would take a different approach to talk about all the things I've become obsessed with over the years. So yeah, my I wouldn't say current obsession, is just what I'm into, is heavy metal. That's been like my longest obsession because I listened to heavy metal when I was a kid, and now here I am, 19 years later. Well, no, not 19, maybe 17 years later. That's when I first started listening to heavy metal, probably. And now I am a big heavy metal fan. So, yeah. Anyways, hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like. Comment down below if you guys have any obsessions and if so, what is it? I'd love to hear from you guys. Yeah, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel, and hit that bell notification if you do want to stay updated as to when I upload, because I don't have a schedule, so there'd be no way of knowing when I upload. Hell, even I don't know when I'm gonna upload and make videos, because it's a complete gamble at this point. So yeah, Losomaniac out.